Welcome back, Beanies! Thank you so much for clicking on this video. If you're new here, please don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss a video. Now, let's hop into it. As you could already tell by the title of this video, this is going to be about how to draw hands. Now, I don't really know how to go completely in depth on this, but I will try my best to break this down. So basically, think of the hand as broken into multiple different shapes. Make the shapes as simple as possible. If you're just doing a regular square or a triangle or a circle, whatever it is, make it as simple as you can possibly make it, so it'll be easier to piece together at the end, and you can draw hands better in the future based off the practice that you have. Drawing hands is one of those things that a lot of artists, even like great artists, still kind of struggle with, because it's like, I don't know, it's something about them that just makes them so hard to draw, because they're so like, they're individual fingers, and it's like all these different shapes you have to break down, and they have to look proportionate, and it's like, it's chaotic. Even I struggle to draw hands now, but I'm way better at them, and now I don't even really need like guidelines at first. I just kind of draw it off memory. Or what you can even do is look at your hand, and as you're drawing, maybe take a picture of it, and then just take a picture of whatever hand position you're trying to do. Or if you're holding on to something, hold something, whatever helps, because you want to make sure that it looks as proportionate as possible, or else you'll have one of those moments where you look back at the picture and you're like, why does it look like that? It looks kind of weird. But that's because you need to always have a reference. If you're doing something you aren't like 100% comfortable drawing, don't be afraid to use references. There's nothing wrong with using them. I forget for which sketch it was, but for one of these hands, I did have to look at my hand to see, because I'm like, how do I draw that again? But there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. So take your time, make sure you practice, and remember that all the fingers that you have on your hand are all different sizes. Don't make them all the same length. Make sure the pinky is slightly shorter than your ring finger, and then the middle finger is the longest finger out of all the other fingers, and then your pointer finger is almost the same size as your ring finger, but a little bit shorter. And then remember that your thumb is just there. It's kind of the weirdest part, but make sure that all of your fingers are the correct size, and make sure that you don't bend the top of the finger too much. So the end of your finger, like, don't make sure not to bend it too much, because your finger doesn't really bend like that on the last part that like bends. I don't even know what it's called. Right now I'm kind of just showing you how to draw the basic, like what a hand basically looks like, because I can't really go all in depth in this video right now. I'm just showing you different hand positions so that you can draw them. Where your fingers bend, you usually have more of a like bubble type of shape, and then it just keeps going straight. So it's not, your finger isn't just one straight line for the most part that curves at the top. It has like other tiny shapes and stuff, of course, that make up the hand, but I'm not gonna go too in depth in that in this video, because yeah, like I said, I'm just gonna show you the different hand positions and how to draw them and break them down into basic shapes, so that you can hopefully become a better hand drawer and know the basic anatomy of the hand before you can, of course, practice and then learn more complicated parts of the hands, like the veins maybe, or like the bones that are on top of your hand that stick out when you move your fingers, the knuckles, the different bends in the finger, your cuticles, all those different fun stuff. But right now we're just gonna stick with basic hand drawings. So as you can see right here with this hand, it took me a little bit to kind of figure out the first finger, not the thumb, but the finger. The thumb isn't a finger. It it was kind of like bent at first, but I erased it and then I had to fix it. Make sure that it's not too bent, and when you draw the other fingers in the background, make sure you shade it in a little bit because it's in the background. It's going to be darker because your hand, of course, has shadows, and you want to make sure that you're showing that those are in the background and these are in the foreground. So you want to shed more light on the top of the front of the hand, and then as you work your way back and show the other fingers, you want to make sure that the other fingers are shaded in, even if it's just a little bit. This will create the illusion that the fingers in the front are in the foreground and the ones that are shaded in are in the background. When you're drawing the hand in comparison to the face, you want to make sure that your hand is basically the same size as the head of the character. I'm talking about semi-realistic hands. Of course, for other art styles, this rule may not apply, but for the basic, what are they called? Rules and stuff for the hand, you want to make sure that the hand is basically the same size. Like if you put your hand on your head, like on your face, you can just feel, you don't even have to see it, it's just like you feel that your hand is basically the same size as your face. That's because the body proportions have allowed for your hand to be literally as long as your head. So basically if you stretch out your hand as much as it can go from your thumb to your middle finger, you can basically tell that it measures from the bottom of your chin to the top of your forehead, which is the top of your head. And then if you just kind of swing it down by your thumb, you can tell that it kind of goes into your neck. And then if you swing it down again, it goes into your sternum, which is the tiny little dent in the middle of your chest. And then if you swing it down again, it goes into your belly button, and so on. So your body is really created to be proportionate. Like, nobody can ever say that you look unproportionate, okay? Because I have heard that insult by some kids before. If you can do that, then you're fine. Don't worry about it. My art teacher in 7th grade taught me how to use these basic body proportions to help measure your characters when you draw, and it's super helpful because you can tell your foot is as big as your head, your hand is as big as your head, which initially shows how some part of your body is somehow equal to some other part of your body. And of course, remember to use the proper shading in areas that you want to appear more in the background, and make sure to not shade in the parts that you want to show more in the foreground, so that people can tell which parts are in the background and which ones are in the foreground, obviously. And so it'll make your hands look more 3D. And that goes for everything that you draw. Make sure that everything has proper shading so that you can show what is in the front and what's in the back. Make it darker as you go farther back, and make it lighter as you go more toward the front. Hopefully you see what I mean here by basic shapes, because literally I'm just drawing a rectangle with like 4 long ovals in the middle. Like, that's all you really need, guys. You don't need to make it fancy. Just break it down as simple as possible at first, and then you can go in with all the details, because this is going to be way easier if you just make sure to follow all the shapes instead of follow like a reference or something. Instead of just automatically tracing a reference onto a piece of paper for your sketch, you could instead try and break that picture into shapes, so that hopefully it'll be easier to learn, and you will also be able to memorize more shape language, and then all those shapes that you draw into those different references that you use will help you in the future to be able to take from pictures and see the shapes that make up the picture instead of just the actual picture. So you want to make sure that you break it down into smaller shapes so that you can draw the picture better. It also makes it more proportionate and stuff. So make sure you break it down into shapes, the most basic shapes you can think about. Even when you're drawing the fist, still make sure that the pinky is smaller and the thumb is the same like size and stuff, and make sure all the fingers are still the right sizes. That'll mean that the pinky will be shorter, like it'll come shorter down from the knuckle, and then so on. The rest of the fingers will just still remain their same size because they bend at a different point in time because they are either longer or shorter than the others. Now for these two, I'm just doing regular hand poses that you usually see. These are kind of smaller because I don't have much space left, but these are just other examples of how you can quickly and easily draw fingers and like hands without even really thinking about it. After a while, it just comes naturally. And I was kind of scared to touch hands because I'm like, I don't feel like learning how to draw these, so I'm just not even going to try. But eventually I picked up a pencil and I took out some paper and I started to kind of study hands, and I started to realize it's not that hard. I mean, if you know shape language and you kind of get the gist of how the hand is like structured, it kind of comes naturally, and then you start to be able to draw them better and better, and the more you draw them, the better you get at them. So make sure that you practice. That is so important. You want to practice, practice, practice all the time. I would say I draw maybe, if it's like right now we're on Thanksgiving break for school, but when I'm at school, I tend to draw a lot, yeah, and in art class, so I would say I get a lot of practice through the week. I can't really give you an exact, like, the exact hours out of a week that I practice, but I do practice a lot. Like, I at least draw one thing a day, even if it's small, because I just want to get my practice in. Or of course doing these videos also helps me practice, but whatever helps you. I mean, even if you grab a pen and like draw on your skin when you're waiting for something, don't do that. It's not very healthy. But I mean, even if you do small things like that, it doesn't really matter. That'll help you get your practice in, even if it's just a little bit of time. Every time you put toward drawing and practice, the better you will get. Even if it's just a little bit of time, you will learn something new every time. Oh, I can't do that, or I can't shade this, or I should erase this. You will start to learn those things even in the smallest drawings that you do. Even sketches on my test papers and everything, I'm like, man, that didn't really look that good. Let me erase this, but it doesn't matter. Either way, you're using your brain to be more creative, and eventually your brain will start to pick up those things that you're not supposed to do and things that you are supposed to do. But there's so many art rules, guys, so your brain isn't going to remember all of them. That's why you want to practice and practice so you can help the more important rules stick better in your head for longer periods of time. And before I forget, I just wanted to say happy Thanksgiving, Beanies. Please stay safe on the roads because there will probably be a lot of traffic, and make sure you get some good food. Stay safe and healthy. I love you. Now let's hop back into it. Well, right now I'm kind of just adding the finishing touches, but that's basically the end of this video. I'm just filling in all the rest of the shapes so that you can get a better breakdown of how these hands were created, and so that you can practice them and know more shape language. Thank you so much for watching this video, guys. I love you guys so much, and thank you so much for 100 subscribers. I'm so excited. It seems like literally just like 2 weeks ago that I had like 20 subscribers, but man, 100, like, it's really, it may not seem like much, but that is such a blessing. Thank you so much for all the people who watch my channel, and thank you so much for sticking with me and liking all of these videos and commenting. You guys are so nice and supportive. Thank you so much. I love you guys so much. If you're new here, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and comment down below how your day is going. I love you so much. Bye, Beanies.